Tech Tales 81. Today is July 17th, 2021 on a Saturday morning. You might hear a lawnmower in the background. What goes better with a Saturday morning than lawn mowing? So I'm going to give a little bit of channel update. I have, let's pop over this way. On my YouTube studio, which you don't get to see, I have a video scheduled to come out at 10 a.m. Pacific time today. And so you won't be able to see when that happens, but it's 2 hours after this video comes out at 8 a.m. Pacific time, having to do with repairing a dead HP all-in-one computer. And that was recorded lab work from yesterday or 2 days ago, I think. And then if I go to a new tab, youtube.com/LTW, I can spell right. No, I can't. LTWDB, that gets you to my channel page, and you can go to this part. As you'll see right here that I have a live stream scheduled for today, 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, with Bertland Hope. And we're going to be reviewing the custom build that he worked on last week, looking for lessons and ways to improve the process next time. So if you're interested in participating in the chat room, come along for that. So then let's come back to do some time slips. So time slip for Sunday, July 4th, 17 minutes for the chiropractic office, Charlie, 9 a.m. to 9:02 a.m. What? 9 a.m. to 9:02 a.m. and I'm charging 17 minutes. Well, what that means is I neglected to fix the time on it, I think. Let's read that and see. For Tango in the office, copied PayrollMate installation files from old computer in order to install on new computer. Unable to connect to new computer due to computer turned off. Okay, so yeah, this would be the 17-minute charge. I had replaced the computer for Tango some time back. This is the computer referred to as TC Computer Experiment, the one that had the cryptographic services problem. Her old computer is here, and she had contacted me saying she needs all the old PayrollMate files from previous year, not files but programs. So I copied the installation files from the old computer. Now, she had been installing that program year after year, so I was a little bit concerned, how am I going to find those? You know, I figured I can probably get them from the software manufacturer's website, but I hadn't been directly involved in those because she was installing them herself. Well, it turns out they sent her an email with a link. She clicks on it, downloads it, and installs it. And then all of those download files were still in the downloads folder from her old computer. So I copied those off to a USB memory stick and then copied onto one of my computers and then turned around to connect to her new computer in her office. Found I couldn't connect to it because it was turned off. So the 17 minutes was the time that it took to copy out the files from her old computer. Why I ever called it 9:02 a.m., I don't know that. But anyway, when I produce the invoice for this, it'll show up, it'll come to my attention, and I'll fix it there. Then next time slip, 1 hour, 15 minutes for the law office pop-up. So this was also on Sunday. 3:13 p.m. to 4:28 p.m. for Romeo in the office, installed new network adapter, cleaned interior of the computer, installed long Ethernet bypass to wiring closet, configured network settings, and tested. So this person, Romeo, had reported an inconsistent problem with the computer getting sluggish, not error messages, not blue screening, just sluggish at periods of time, and she would restart the computer or do something else and would seem to come back to performance. And I had asked her to call me when this happens so I can connect remotely and check on it at the time. Well, as weeks had gone by and she had never called me, I checked in with her, and yes, it had been having problems, but she just couldn't take out the time to call me at that time. Well, people are busy with their work. They're working under pressures and deadlines, and it's easy to, well, I'll do that later. Well, I'll do that later. And then I never hear from her. So I give myself some follow-up techniques to be able to check in with somebody, see how it's going. So I figured, okay, that's just not going to work. for me to be able to connect and look at it. So I knew that in the past we'd had a problem with this model computer that I had solved for another staff member, that replacing the network card fixed it. Well, network cards are cheap, so I just put it in. And then I ran this Ethernet line from her office across a public path area. Public, well, other employees would walk across this area into the private office of one of the senior attorneys, into the wiring closet, and taped it down. I knew that was not going to be welcomed. To see if that helped things, because I was concerned about the wiring through the walls and such. And this office has the Ethernet port on the floor, not on a wall. And the reason for that is because this office was designed when they had totally gutted this 2-story historical landmark home into an office building. They stripped it all out, all of the interior, put in new walls, new floor for the second floor, everything. This room was designated to be a conference room, so there was a network port in the center of the room on the floor. Well, now they've got a user's desk over it, and it's right at that person's feet. It's been kicked around a little bit even before, and this was like the third or fourth person and different arrangement of desks in this office. So I was really suspicious of that. So this was that setup, and I'll report the results of that when we get to that time slip. So next time slip, Sunday the 4th on 59 minutes for the apartment building golf. So these were two of these were on-site visits, on that Sunday. So the apartment building golf, 4:39 p.m. to 5:38 p.m. Since it's an apartment building, it's open 24/7. They have a security person at the front at the security desk in the lobby. So I had prearranged and knew that I was going to be let into the office to install new network switch and tested front office computers. I've reported this issue before, where they have a network switch that would occasionally just shut down. And my suspicion was overheating, but that suspicion is a little suspicious. But anyway, it just seemed like the switch wasn't working right, so I just ordered a replacement, and this was the installation of that replacement switch. Kind of a nuisance, kind of difficult to deal with, because this is in a mounting cage up on the wall, so I had to use a ladder to get to it. It has a door on the front that opens, and then there's these clips that you reach back to the wall and unclip, and the whole cage opens out to be able to access from the back. And every time I open one of these cages, it just, is this thing going to hold up there? I don't know how well this was mounted on the wall, because when you pull it out, it puts different forces on the wall, because now that all the weight of that box and all the equipment in it is hanging on those two hinges. And equipment has been installed in here by 3, 4, 5 different technicians over time. There's phone equipment in there. There's network equipment in there. There's the Comcast router is in there. There's Wi-Fi, not devices in there, but the power connectors, that do the power over Ethernet. Wow, that's interesting. Now I just realized that one of those switches in there is a PoE switch. I could swap out those power connectors and operate that off of the PoE switch. But is it justified for me to just enforce that upon my client? Well, maybe. We may wind up doing that. So anyway, part of this task was to start it back up and test the computers. But then, because it's so tight in there with all the Ethernet wires running from one box to another, and having to make sure that I understood how is the internet signal getting to the first box and then daisy chained to the next switch. I should have said switch, not box. And So then in putting in the new box, I was reluctant to just shut everything down and take it all out because the security desk still needs to be able to function with internet access and with others being able to monitor the security cameras. They are active full-time monitoring the security cameras. The security desk has multiple monitors, even overnight. They really resist being shut down. So what I did is there was enough of a slot that I could slip this new Ethernet switch in there, and it was fanless. It was the newer style switches. You can buy them so that they're quiet, they're low power consumption, there's no fan. Now they may be argued as being lower quality. I'm not sure. I don't do enough of those to really have studied that, but I felt comfortable enough with this switch, and I like the idea of it being fanless because there's one of those devices in there is really loud. I was hoping the one I was disconnecting was going to be one of the noisy ones. I didn't think it was because I've already been there when it was shut down. And then the noise from the other switch, that's the loud one. And that one was installed by the security camera company. So it's providing power to its cameras. And so I should be able to use that switch, though, to provide service to the Wi-Fi because they're all on the same network. They're all receiving the same internet signal. They could be different IP addresses for the cameras, even though they go through the same switches. So anyway, I haven't looked at all into that. So I mounted the new switch, and with all these wires going over that portion, I had to. It had to go in from the front. So I figured out a way that I could reconnect a couple of those wires to be able to spread the wires apart enough that I could slide the switch in this way and then turn it and screw it into place. And then one by one move the wires over, first with getting an internet connection to it. So I got down to the point that the old switch still had its internet connection, but all the devices were no longer connected to it. So then I removed those so that that switch has nothing connected to it, and then I disconnected the power. I did not remove it. I didn't remove it yet because there's the history of what's gone on here. I was concerned about how it has evolved over time. You know, somebody makes a change here, somebody makes a change there, and I had reported before on Timeslips that I had issues where there was a computer off in a separate office from this front office that when I connected it to the network, I could get internet connectivity, I could connect to the other computers, but I could not communicate with the copy machine for printing or scanning. And when I moved the connection to another port, I could. And I theorized at that point that I was dealing with a programmable switch, which, yes, it was a programmable switch, but had somebody done any programming to restrict certain protocols from going through certain ports? That's an area that I have a bit of awareness in, but certainly not an expert by any means. So anyway, I was a little leery that is there something about this that isn't going to work right. So that's why I wanted to leave the old switch in place. Since the new switch runs cooler, I wasn't really worried about the air circulation there. So that'll do it for this edition of Tech Tales. I hope that was useful. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.